your snacking routine can get a little dull. Time for a light and fit remix. Like a crunchy storm of graham cookies, caramel pearls, and dark chocolate, showering down into a smooth, creamy yogurt. Enjoy 3 light and fit remix varieties with craveable flavors and up to 120 calories and 10 grams of protein per 4.5-ounce serving. See remixyogurt.com.
This is Cop Talk, talking crime, cases, and backing the blue. Now, here are your hosts, Ed Mamet and Kevin Schroeder.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Cop Talk. My name is Kevin Schroeder. I'm a retired NYPD detective, and I'm here with my co-host, Captain Ed Mamet.
Hello, WABC listeners. I'm here for another episode with Kevin and our distinguished guest.
Thank you. Today, our guest, we're very fortunate to have Laura Curran, who's the former executive to Nassau County and also has a radio show on Sundays called Cut to the Chase.
Yep.
WABC Radio as well as WLIR.
Sunday afternoon at 4 p.m., 4 to 5.
And also a podcast.
Yeah. Like everybody's got a podcast now.
Yes. So do we, right?
And I'm happy to be on your podcast. We're doing a little synergy here.
Yes. So anyway, Laura, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And,
thanks for having me.
You know, you were a journalist and you a politician. And if you could just give us a little background of your career.
Sure.
An overview.
Sure.
Great.
So I kind of, I guess I never really had a grand plan. I was one of those people who never knew what they wanted to do when they grew up. So I was always interested in journalism. I love writing. I love politics. So journalism was a natural fit. I was lucky enough to get a job at the New York Daily News at the relatively young age of 26. I had worked at a small paper in Brooklyn for a while to kind of learn the craft. And I was also spent a short period of time at the New York Post, back at the Daily News. So really covering New York City in the 90s and into the mid-2000s, mid-aughts. And I loved it. It was great. However, fast forward, I had some children, my husband and I, and it was hard to be running around. I wanted to spend more time with them. So got involved in the community and I ended up running for school board pretty much on a dare. A friend said, hey, you covered education for the Daily News. Why don't you run for school board? And I thought, okay, sure. I probably won't win, but why not? I'll learn a lot. It'll be interesting. And it's a good way to be involved. So lo and behold, I won and really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed dealing with the people. I enjoyed dealing with the budget and, all the things you got to do. I even didn't mind people coming up to me in the grocery store complaining about their taxes or what was going on in the kindergarten or whatever it was. And so there was a legislator named Joe Scannell, county legislator who lived in my town. He retired. Unfortunately, he's since passed away at a young age, but he retired and, I was approached and I said, yes, I would be very interested in running. So I served on the legislature for 4 years, for 2 terms, and then I threw my hat in the ring for county executive, got through the primary, won the general, and served for 4 years. And it was great. I loved it. It was a wonderful job. I had a great team. It was a tough time. We had COVID. We had the George Floyd protests. There were tons of storms. I mean, it just seemed to be a lot of issues that we had to deal with. But, I really believe my team and I rose to the task, got the first bond upgrade for the county in 15 years. And something that I'll brag about on your podcast, since we're doing Cop Talk, we were named the safest community in America for 3 years in a row, for the last 3 of the 4 years by U.S. News and World Report. And I was very proud of that because this was really at a time when people were and continue to be concerned about public safety.
Yes, that's awesome. That's awesome. I remember watching you on television during COVID.
Yeah.
You did a great job.
Thank you.
With your police commissioner, Ryder.
Yep.
Patrick Ryder.
Yep. It was me, Patrick Ryder, and of course, Dr. Larry, the health commissioner. We were like the 3 amigos through that whole time.
Right. So, I mean, jumping from, going into politics and, becoming the executive for Nassau County, was it much of a difference going from, on the school board to the big jump into the big game, which is
well, I was, the fact that I had served as county legislator for 4 years was incredibly helpful and really prepared me, I think, for the job because I got to see how the county works. I got to work with the department heads, whether it was DPW or police. And in fact, that's how I got to know Patrick Ryder because I was on the legislature. And from that perspective, I could see what a great job he was doing. And so then he was acting police commissioner when I came in. And then I appointed him to be the actual police commissioner. And I was very lucky well, I don't know if it's luck, but it was very helpful to have served on the legislature because I knew how things worked and I knew who was good, who was already there, and who wasn't. Because when a new administration comes in, the tendency sometimes is just to bring in a whole new crew, your people. But you need sometimes in running a county like Nassau that serves 1.3 million people, you need some institutional knowledge. And if you know who's good, you want to keep them.
Right. Very true, Laura. Very true.
That's a great approach. I really believe in that. Often continuity is important.
It is.
Oftentimes, I've seen this in the city of New York. Changes take place, and the old people are out, and the new people are in, and they have to struggle to catch up.
That's right.
That brings me to the question. You took office in 2018, correct?
Mm-hmm. January 1.
What was at the time, what was Nassau County's overall crime situation, if you recall?
Nassau County was doing well with crime. We pretty historically have had a good, pretty low crime rate, but there were concerns about opioids. There were concerns about burglaries and break-ins. Of course, there were big concerns during that campaign in 2017 about MS-13 and gangs. That's something that was really very much front and center. And, my philosophy is government serves some very important purposes. And I think the most important is public safety. And so, talking about it during the campaign and then working on it as county exec was a big, big priority for me.
Did you have any special approach or program to reduce crime?
Yes. So one thing that I really believe is that having connections with the community and building trust between police and the community, and I'm sure you guys can speak to this better than anyone, is incredibly important. Because if witnesses, if sources, if victims don't trust the police, they're not going to talk to the police. They're not going to help solve problems. They're not going to let the police be aware if there's a gang member next door, or drug situation happening in their community. So one of the first things we did on the public safety front was the police commissioner, Patrick Ryder, started up. We helped him start up these what we call commissioners' community councils. So stakeholders from all 19 legislative districts, very big groups of people, would meet regularly. And the thing that I like about Patrick Ryder is he's got very good, what I call connective tissue. Everybody's got his number. He'll talk to anyone. He's good with all of our different diverse communities. He's got great relationships. And I think that really helped us make something that was good even better, especially during a challenging time of those 4 years.
Well, you had a well-regarded opium program.
Yes, that's right. And it was a lot.
Opioids.
Right. Well, it's all the same stuff. It all comes from the poppy. And now, of course, we're dealing with the fentanyl issue, which is so much, it's hard to imagine something could be even worse.
Can you tell us about that program?
Yeah. So it was a multi-pronged approach where one thing we would do is obviously enforcement, and the police using data would see where overdoses were happening, where the arrests were happening, and then target those areas. And we would let the community know beforehand, just so you know, we're going to be around, we're going to be doing some enforcement in this community. And, places like Massapequa, where the opioid issue was really prevalent. I remember East Meadow, these other communities where a lot of young people were dying. Really serious enforcement. And then it wasn't just enforcement, because we knew we couldn't enforce our way out of this. It was also giving people an alternative for treatment. It was also having county community-wide meetings that everyone from the community would be invited to talk about, what are the signs, what to look for if you think your kid is using, or how you can prevent this from happening. So it was all of these approaches together that I think really made a big difference. So it's enforcement, it's education, it's the helping people get attached to treatment options, all of those together. Problem was, during COVID, we couldn't do those kinds of meetings anymore. We couldn't have make those kinds of connections. So we did, and we also saw people isolated, home alone. I think we all know this now, depression spiraling, hopelessness. Almost seemed like it was going to be the end of the world for a few months there. And unfortunately, we did see the rate start to go up. After we were allowed to be together again, we relaunched it.
How about MS-13?
Well, being extremely tough. This was a problem that was quite prevalent out in Suffolk, but it made a lot of news in Nassau because we had some bodies buried, Massapequa Preserve and other places. And so we had, very, again, strong, data-driven enforcement, zeroing in on the problems, and that connective tissue with the community was incredibly important, and made great progress there. But, gangs are still a problem in Nassau County. People think of Nassau County as this bucolic place where everyone just plays Little League and goes to the country club. We got some serious gang problems in some of our communities, and it affects the whole county.
Yeah, well, Peter King would talk about that all the time.
Yeah. Yes, that's right. He's a buddy of mine, actually. I've had him on my podcast a couple of times talking about issues, and this is something we've talked about.
Peter speaks very highly of you all the time.
He's a sweetheart.
We
always get in trouble because I'm a Democrat and he's a Republican, but we have nice things to say about each other.
There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you used to be a Democrat and a Republican could, over a beer have a conversation and have another beer and go home. Now it's a little different.
Now it's a little different, unfortunately.
Speaking of MS-13, as you know, there's a lot of controversy over the use of ICE. What were your relationships with the people from ICE?
I felt it was important to have partnerships with other agencies, with all of our federal partners. And that's something that not everyone was thrilled with me for taking that stand, but I think you got to work together. You got to work together with the state. You got to work with New York City Police, Suffolk County, New York State, and with our federal partners, including ICE.
Yeah, and recently you did an interview with Police Commissioner Sewell.
I did. Yeah.
What was your impression of her as the first female police commissioner in the history of the city of New York?
It's pretty amazing, right? Yeah. So we had worked together in Nassau. She was promoted to chief of detectives while I was county exec. Always just was so impressed with her presence, with her work, with her professionalism, and with the respect that she earned from those that worked under her. I mean, they liked her. They respected her. I feel that she's very diplomatic, and I'm sure there's a lot that she's not saying, but that's what a professional does. It's very much a chain of command mindset. This is what I'm responsible for. I take my responsibility seriously. I'm not going to crap on anyone else because that is not going to move the ball at all. I think she's incredibly competent. She seems to also be I don't want to say press shy, but she's not jumping in front of a camera every 5 minutes like perhaps some other police commissioners have done. And I think for her, it's about the job. It's about the community, and it's about her cops. It's not about her ego. Well,
she seems to be well-liked, the feedback I get.
Yeah.
But one of the points she made, which is something I've always been interested in after a 40-year career in the police department, was police and politics.
Yeah.
Now
she got into that. I asked her about that.
I know, and that's why I'm bringing it up.
Yeah.
But my concern is not so much the political situation between the legislative branch and the police department, but the internal politics of police work.
Yeah.
Now, going back centuries ago, we had Tammany Hall here in New York, and they ran the police department. And if you wanted to get promoted, for example, if you wanted to be a precinct commander, you had to pay off Tammany Hall a certain amount of money, and that's how you got the job.
Wow.
So in its purest sense, politics and police should be totally removed from one another. But in reality, police have to deal somewhat in politics.
Because it is a political appointment. The head of police
correct.
is
and
picked
you have
by the
to
mayor.
deal with the legislative bodies, and they have a right to be interested in police. But what disturbs me is what takes place within the police agencies, where the politics get involved, where to get maybe promoted, some politician will help you, and it undercuts authority in whoever's running the agency. Now, we're seeing a lot of that here in New York. Here in the New York City Police Department, we have a New York City Police Department is bloated agency. A lot of people have been placed into these very high-ranking positions, civilians, that were at one time occupied by sworn members of the department. And it disturbs me because it smacks of cronyism and nepotism. And then they're always talking about defunding police. Well, all you have to do is reduce some of these positions and you'll save money. So that's...
I got to think it hurts morale with the rank and file because they see this. They're not dumb. And then it should be that you get a promotion based on the merits, that you get these positions based on the merits. So why am I working if it's just going to go to someone's nephew?
Well, that's what I was getting at. It should be merit-based, but, quite a few of these positions are not civil service. And that's where the abuse of discretion comes in.
Yeah.
And that's something I would hope that you would take a good look at.
Yeah, because so much of what we're talking about, whether it's running a county or law enforcement, or it's all about trust. And if people don't trust the process, if they don't trust that this is an ethical, merit-based system, they're not going to trust it. And people see it as well. They might not know all the details, but they get it.
When you were county executive, what was your role if writers came to you and said, I mean, did he have to come to you and say, I want to promote somebody? Or he just did it, or you left him do it on his own?
We would have a conversation, but obviously I would I would take very seriously his suggestion because number one, I trusted his judgment, and we saw eye to eye on a lot of things. And number two, he's there day to day, so it will be a decision made by us, but I will take what he says very, very seriously.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you listen
because we had that trust.
Yeah, you listen to Commissioner Ryder, what he has to say, and be guided by him. Of course, you have the ultimate decision.
Right.
You could override him, any decision he made. But basically, your relationship was, and knowing who Ryder is and his reputation, you kind of be guided by what he's maybe, which avenue he's saying we should go down for this particular incident.
Exactly. And I think there was a real honesty between us. There wasn't... you see sometimes between a police commissioner and a mayor, egos get involved and who's insulted and who's the bigger guy and all that. We really never had any of those issues.
It wasn't obvious anyway.
Yeah.
Because like I said, seen you many times on television with the COVID situation, and you and Ryder got along very well.
Yeah.
It appeared that way, and I'm sure that is true.
Yeah. I genuinely like him.
Yeah.
He's a good guy.
Laura, in contrast with some of your Democratic colleagues who were for bail reform, and you opposed it.
I did.
Can we speak about that?
Of course.
Sure. So what's your thoughts on?
So I remember it was 2019, and I went on Fox and Friends. I was talking to Brian Kilmeade, and I said, and I didn't just say this on television. I also said it, to anyone who would listen. I said, I'm concerned that this has gone too far, too fast. There was a reason for bail reform. And there's the story of, I believe his name was Khalif Browder, the young teenager who was in Rikers for 3 years for allegedly stealing a backpack, was never, he was finally let go. But, nothing ever happened because he couldn't get out. He couldn't pay the bail, and then he killed himself. And so obviously there was a need for some kind of reform, but it went way too far and it happened way too fast. And that was my concern. And I said, look, the legislature passes this up in Albany, but then we here on the ground in the county and in our cities, we have to enforce it. We have to make sure it works and keep our community safe at the same time. And that was my biggest concern. And some folks on my side were not happy with what I said. And I still hear about it from time to time. But again, what's my job? My job is to keep people safe and to represent not other elected officials and politicians, but to represent the people in Nassau County. And that's what I thought my job was. And that's how I approached it. And I got together, a team of law enforcement people, including Sheriff Errol Toulon, who is a Democrat out in Suffolk County, who were of a like mind. And we called for, common sense bail reform. Let's take a look at this. It's not a weakness to admit that something is not right. And then you can go back and fix it. And it's like inching ever so slowly towards some fixes. I still believe that the discovery needs to be fixed and the dangerousness should be allowed by judges to be considered.
It's still a mess, as we know.
Still a mess.
And
We see it.
It's up in Albany and they're dealing with it. Can you give us an update on the bail reform up in Albany?
So I wish I had some inside knowledge. It's funny because on my radio show once a week, I have someone who either covers Albany. I had Zach Williams from the New York Post. I had Senator Monica Martinez from Suffolk County on yesterday to talk about what's going on. It sounds like they're making some incremental progress on bail. I think it's not quite all the way of dangerousness, but I think they might get rid of the judges having to do the least restrictive consideration. But I'm dying to know how this ends up. This is the biggest suspense story right now between that and the housing and charter schools and everything else.
We could touch on the housing.
Yeah.
What's the story with the housing with Nassau County?
That went over like a lead balloon.
Yes, the governor wants to do all the above. What's your opinion on that?
Oh, my goodness. So I love transit-oriented development. We need more housing on Long Island. New Jersey is outpacing us. I am a true believer in affordable housing. However, the way to do it, the exact way to not do it, is to come and say, well, towns and villages, we're going to strip away your local zoning control and impose from above, because we're much smarter than you and we're much better people than you, impose on you how to get this done. It takes time. It takes hand-holding. You've got to talk to the mayors. You got to get them on board. You got to talk to the town folks who do the zoning. And you're not going to always succeed. But I'm concerned, this whole zoning stripping proposal is actually going to hurt development on Long Island because people are going to be even more turned off. So we've made progress. We've made a lot of progress. You see in Long Beach, where you hang out, there's some stuff happening in Lynbrook, in Rockville Center, in Farmingdale, Patchogue, Mineola. It is happening. You got to encourage it and you got to incentivize it. But for the elites to say, we know better than you stupid suburbanites, is a totally losing proposition. Not to mention this. So I look at it politically as a Democrat, seeing how badly Democrats have done lately on Long Island. This last congressional race, in my race in 2021, this is yet another reason why people on Long Island are not going to vote for Democrats. And I feel bad for the great candidates we have running this year in the local elections.
Very true. And some of these towns already have the housing.
They have a
set
lot.
up. Right, exactly. Yeah. Some towns you just mentioned have it already.
And it's gaining momentum. Don't strangle it.
Right, exactly.
Getting back to bail reform, there was no planning in that. It was so obvious to people like myself.
It's like the housing. It's the same thing. It's like a think tank of geniuses gets together who have not a lot of experience in the real world.
Right. It just shows that the legislators, they have no management experience. They have no background in it. They just come up with something and throw it in. They don't consult the people that have to live with it, like you and police officers. And, it was predictable that crime would rise. I mean, anybody who was in law enforcement that I spoke to, we knew this was going to happen. And what shocked me is several months ago, I don't remember exactly when it was, the head of the Civil Liberties Union here in New York, I forgot her name, but she said—
Donna Lieberman?
Donna Lieberman. She said, there's no statistical evidence or any correlation between the rise in crime and bail reform. Mm-hmm. I couldn't believe she said that.
Yeah. The thing with those kinds of statistics, and again, you guys with a lot of law enforcement experience know that you can slice and dice statistics to say anything you want.
That's right.
It's kind of like the Bible. You can find support for anything you want in that thing.
The old expression is statistics don't lie, but liars do.
Ah, that's good. Yeah.
Well, the numbers, we know how the numbers go, right, Ed? When it comes to crime stats, absolutely.
Yes, you see the massaging and the manipulating.
Exactly. It's everything. Crime is down. That's what they say.
Yeah.
Nassau County, is crime down?
I don't know how it is now. I know there was like a catalytic converter thing. So I feel safe. I'll put it that way, but I don't know how the statistics are doing.
Right. I think Nassau's doing pretty well with the stats, and I think most of it's legit because when we are on Long Island, we feel very safe, don't we? Unlike sometimes being in our New York City subway.
Yeah. Although I don't have a lot of fear. I ride the subway. I walk around. I'm not one of those people who's afraid. I don't know. Maybe because I spent a lot of time as a young person in New York in the 90s when it was worse.
That's true.
Running around to crime scenes in Crown Heights or whatever it was I was doing.
That's true as well. So what are your plans? Will you be running for office again?
Well, I don't have any immediate plans. I'm certainly not running for anything this year or next year. But, never say never. I am told, I don't think I want to, but I am told I probably will want to run at some point again. But my feeling is if I have a fire in the belly to run for something and I'm the right person, then I would have to consider it. But you got to have that fire in the belly. You can't just do it because it would be cool to be in office.
Right.
You have to really have a mission because think about it. You have to raise so much money. I mean, I raised more than $3 million for my county exec races, which is an insane amount of money.
That's great.
You have to obviously make yourself very vulnerable. You have to spend time away from your family. I mean, there's a lot. It's worth the sacrifice. It is 100% worth all of that if you have a fire in the belly and you have a mission, which I really did feel in my 2 county exec races. Absent that, I don't think I would run.
You might have to change party affiliation.
I was just going to ask you the question. Would you consider changing parties?
I don't think so. No, I still believe in the Democratic Party. I still believe in, safety net, helping people, being inclusive. I do feel like a lot of Democrats who might not admit it, I feel like my party's kind of lost its way. I feel like we're losing a lot of who should be natural Democrats. A lot of the Asian vote, the Hispanic vote is drifting away. I think all of this emphasis on identity politics and on virtue signaling and all of that is a huge turnoff to me and to other potential Democratic voters. So but I believe in my party, so I'm going to stay with it, and I'm just going to say what I think.
I agree. So the answer is no.
Yeah, the answer is no.
Right. Yeah. Well, you're a common sense Democrat, obviously.
Yes.
So,
yes.
And
maybe I'll be an independent. Who knows?
Yeah. Who knows? And you're pro law enforcement, which is what we like. And I'm glad you're here.
Thank you.
Laura Curran, thank you very much for being on Cop Talk.
It was my pleasure. That flew by.
It did.
Well, when you have good
we love
people, it goes fast.
We'd love to have you back.
Sure.
Okay, we look forward to having you back.
If you ever
It
want
was
me, I'll be happy to come, and I
Well,
really
we're going
appreciate
to
it.
be we're going to be on your
Oh,
show.
you're going to come on my show. They're coming on
That's
Cut to
right.
the Chase. So
That's right.
you're going to have to
Cut
tune
to
in.
the chase.
So we'll turn the tables, and I'll be asking you the questions.
That's
right.
right.
We'll do the podcast, and then maybe I'll play part of it on the radio, so you get a double.
cool.
People get
Thank
a double
you.
dose.
Thank you. See, there you go, Ed. You're going to be a star. See?
Good.
We're going to make you a star, honey.
There you go, Cap. Well, Laura, once again, thank you so much, and be safe out there, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
and thank you both for your service.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for listening to Cop Talk. Be safe out there. Thank you.